Hello guys, welcome back to my reviews, Series 17, again. So today we're talking about two Gothic films actually, roughly, I would say. One from each decade, one for the 70s, one for the 80s as well. So yes, it's all Bram Stoker-esque stuff, really, to revolve around Bram Stoker actually. And yes, so let's do this. So the first one we'll talk about is Vampyres from 1974 or 1975, depends when it was released. British film this is. Focuses on these two couple. One's called Miriam, one's called again my brain's just going a bit really at this point. Basically they're two lovers. They are at the beginning of the film they get gunned down by townsfolk really in the sort of manner that they're in, really end up getting killed. They somehow become resurrected, become vampires. They do, and they stalk the land. They do around this manor house as well. And obviously, you know, they get. Obviously, it's in the 70s. It's in the 70s, whereas the original bit was sort of set in period piece. You know, at that time, really. You know, sort of taking the Bram Stoker element, but also putting in a 70s twist as well. Bit of a exploitation type thing as well. Interestingly, especially in the British film side of things. You know, if you look at what British films were doing in the 70s, really, yeah, blimey, you know, it could be a lot risque. They can be softcore type stuff. So these vampire lovers, you know, meet these people, of course, and obviously again lure them into the manor, and obviously you know to drain their blood, really, but also have their own lesbian hijinks as well. Interestingly, but there's some interesting things to talk about this film. So first things first, there was a documentary called the Bram Stoker, the Stoker's Legacy, of course, which Denham Elliott was hosting actually at the time, and it included behind the scenes stuff it did really of the film, and mainly the opening scene, believe it or not. And that was shown on BBC I think in 73, 4, something like that. Obviously, yeah. So they go into the whole thing about Bram Stoker and you know everything, and the whole thing. It's mythology. The book's mythology about the influence, you know, everything else, what goes on. Obviously, you get the whole thing with making the vampires as well. Bit of short scenes, really, and it's sort of interesting. You can find it on YouTube anyway, which I found it interestingly. It's not actually on the DVD though, strangely enough, which I do have, which I first knew about. I'm trying to think where I found it. I first knew about. I think it might be in the Works actually, because the Works had stuff in the middle. You probably, you know, they had some DVD box sets and stuff like that, maybe some standalone releases. And I remember seeing this white cover with, you know, red eyes, fangs, blood drips out, vampires. I thought, okay, now is it a cheap film? Is it something from the 2000s or the late 90s? You know, that's direct to video. It wasn't actually. Well, I didn't find until a couple of years later. Another interesting thing about that is it's got Anoka D. Bluevich or Noka, just Anoka. She's great on the DVD actually. Who it was a Playboy playmate in '73, who later married Tony Sales, bass player, you know, who lives with Iggy Pop, David Bowie and Tin Machine as well. So yeah, so that's interesting history, and yeah. I mean, there's probably some other actors who probably appeared in Hammer films as well. It's basically it's a Hammer film generally. Yeah, but it's got to be that exploitation stuff about it, really. So, you know, that's all thing, really. So, that's about it, really. It was released on Blu-ray. I don't probably here, but it depends. Like it's a region 3 Blu-ray. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe, but I did pick up the DVD from CX. So it was about £3-4 I think it was. Maybe more actually. I don't know. Now we move on to a film from 1988. This is Ken Russell's Lair of the White Worm. So, I'm trying to think with Ken Russell. I've heard about The Devils. I've heard about Gothic. I've seen Gothic recently, actually, and I thought, yeah, okay. And obviously, this film. The interesting thing about this film, really, for me, that stood out was with its lead actors, because Hugh Grant in this, an early film for him in 88, 87, 88, and Peter Capaldi as well. And they sort of take the leads of this film, they do. Peter Capaldi plays a bit of an architect, really, and obviously discovers, you know, the fossilized bones of, you know, ancient bones, really. And obviously you got Hugh Grant, who's basically this upper class person who his ancestors, well, one of his ancestors helped slay the White Worm, basically. many centuries ago, really. And obviously, you know, the whole spirit thing of the White Worm comes back with Amanda Donohue's character, and she goes around starts possessing people like the you know and well the security guard, and also having links to Angus's girlfriend's sister, who's played by Catherine Oxenberg, American actress, but dubbed over, interestingly, strangely. And I watched this and I thought, well, because I had it on Blu-ray, but the problem was it. So when I bought this, you know, it still had the tag on really. So obviously, I think the person at HMV who bought it, well, who was the counter really forgot to put this on, so it's still there. So it's still sort of sealed. It is. It's been reduced anyway. Yeah. Sammy David, Catherine Oxenberg, that's it, yeah. Restaurant film this is. Yeah, I pretty enjoy it. I mean, it's gothic nature, it's British gothic film it is. And yeah, it's one of those, I enjoy it for what it was. But I enjoy it for what it was. I mean, to see Peter Capaldi, who's like a well-known actor, played the 12th Doctor, of course, 2014 to 2017, obviously, but also had a very strong career in films and TV, you know, stuff like Local Hero and you know, and obviously guest parts as well, which you've probably seen obviously TV dramas on ITV. You feel like, oh, he's guest starring. So yeah, and Hugh Grant doesn't really change really compared to him like in the late 80s. Wow, blimey. I'm trying to think when his big break was really. What really took him off. Mainly, but this is one of his like early film roles, really. So Amanda Donohue sort of really gets that sort of, you know, evil personification of the White Worm, really, and you know how she moves and everything else. Pretty good stuff. Interesting. You know, trying to lure the White Worm in using a gramophone, blaring it loud. Yeah, that'll probably work. You know, and having a good face-off with it in the dungeons, and Pierre Capaldi throwing a grenade in the pit just to explode. You know, to like explode really. And the ending, obviously, because Capaldi gets bitten, he does. He bites him, you know, in the leg, and he uses it like an antidote. However, it's revealed towards the bit of the end of the film, which it wasn't the right antidote. It was something to do with animals or something like a veterinary type stuff, really. So he's still possessed, and obviously when they drive together at the end of the film, it's like, who, you know, I feel like a bit peckish. I feel like a snack. Reveals his guilty. He has the bite marks still in him, and yeah, and that's how the film ends. Interesting enough. So yeah, for Lair the White Worm, I used something else really. I can't really say what I use really, but it's a website I used to watch this one because open it. I did find a tutorial video of it using fridge magnets apparently to get that off, but never got around to it. But I did see the film, so there we are. So there we go, guys. I've been talking about Vampyres from 1974 and The Lair of the White Worm from 1988 or 87. Thank you guys for watching. See you for the next video.